Yo, 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 what's good? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back welcoming you to another Kung Fu Film Focus for this Thursday, December 29th, 2022. And this is a special Kung Fu Film Focus where the feature is going to be on a villain of several films played by Lo Lei, the legendary Shaw Brothers actor, and also once played by Gordon Lau himself. We're talking about Priest White Eyebrows, Pei Mei. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that this evening on this special edition of Kung Fu Film Focus. And allow me to also introduce, we got a special guest in the building this evening with us to talk about Pei Mei, and that's none other than the brother, the General, 78 Sports TV. What's good with you, General?
How you doing? What's up, Stormy? Dude? Salute to the chat.
Yeah, man. This is, hey, when you said that, you know, I told you I jumped right on it, man. I'm like, I don't mind talking about Pei Mei. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
From the films, man. And Lo Lei played him in, I think, 4 films, but we'll talk about 3 of them tonight. And man, let me tell you something. Pei Mei, Priest Pei Mei was a badass, wasn't he? He was he was like a Sith Lord in Kung Fu. You know what I mean? Right. So, man, I think his first appearance from a Shaw Brothers film was in Executioners from Shaolin, and that was in 1977. And that was with Lo Lei and Chen Kwa Tai, who was playing he was playing Hung Si Quan. So a great film, just, you know, one of those actioners that when you first saw it, you really didn't know what you were looking at, because Pei Mei represented the Wu-Tang school of martial arts. And and historically, there was a real Pei Mei. Of course, the films hyped him up a little bit more, but he was responsible for helping to lead the raid on the Shaolin Temple, which led to the burning down of the Shaolin Temple, because he had affiliates and spies positioned in the Shaolin Temple. And a lot of Chinese folklore, you know, features this man and his villainy. So, you know, let's get in. What are your off the top of the dome recollections of Priest Pei Mei?
Man, this is my favorite villain of all time. You know what I'm saying? I just think Priest Pei Mei, and I'm throwing in his classmate, the Lotus Chief, too. They're the same people.
Yeah.
Them dudes, man, was just indestructible, man. I mean, they had a weak point, but you had to do so much to find them. You know what I'm saying? And I remember growing up, me and my homies used to, you know, we all have our favorite Kung Fu characters and shit like that. My homeboy, Gamar, he used to always want to be Priest White Lotus or Pei Mei, right? And so we would all imitate different styles and stuff, you know. One of us doing the tiger crane boxing, you know, one of us doing this and that. And he always used to do that, the style of the White Lotus. And it was hilarious to me, because he really got that style off. Like, it was hard to hit this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how he did it, but it was just perfect. Growing up, it made it fun, man. But he was always my favorite character because of he was like almost invincible.
Right. He had that invulnerability that what they in some of the films it's referred to as iron robe kung fu, which is like your skin is impenetrable, your privates, even like your vulnerable areas like your eyes or your ears or whatever. He had a way of closing off those areas with his invulnerability, and it was like a shield. You can't hurt the guy, you can't penetrate, and that's what really made him more exciting to see him, you know, do those things. And in those moments, he even had students that he taught that to, that would later on come in other films, and you would see those guys. They would be, descendants of his teachings. Let me recognize this super chat real quick from the brother Todd French 600 out there. He says, "The Fist of the White Lotus was the best role." Hey man, that's definitely a film that we're going to talk about a little bit this evening. But like I said, off the top of my head, I could think of at least 6 films that the character Pei Mei was featured in. We'll talk about 3 of them this evening that Lotus played him, and all 3 were superb films. So we'll get that. But salute to Todd French out there. Appreciate your super chat, man. Yeah. Another thing about him, 78, was when he, when someone would come and try to come at him,
right,
you always had to fight his students first.
right. Yeah, he's gonna put you through a gauntlet.
Yeah, he'll tell you, he's like, you have to defeat these 2 swordsmen, if you want your shot at me, and those swordsmen was bad as hell too.
And he used to what used to crack me up was his arrogance. How dare you challenge me with your so-called kung fu? Man, he used to smash the gas on people, man.
Yeah, man. It was beautiful watching him do his thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, listen. With no further ado, let me roll the first clip here, man. We're gonna give these people a little taste of Pei Mei. You understand? Check him out.
So you are Hong Guan.
This is Executioners from Shaolin, people. Shaw Brothers, 1977.
I guessed that you would be the only one who would dare to come here. You've got courage. Before you get a chance to fight with me, you must observe our rules and beat these 2 swordsmen first.
See, that's Wu-Tang. The swords play, that's Wu-Tang.
Right.
Chen Kwa Tai was always the badass in the films as well.
Yeah, he was. Didn't he play Hong Wei Ting in the other one? In the White Lotus? Was he Wei Ting? No, he was the other one. You Up Yao.
Yeah. He's playing Hung Chi Kwan in this one.
My tiger kung fu is better than yours. I don't think you're good enough to avenge your master. Admit it, am I not much better than you? Can't you find it?
Now I'm gonna stop it right there for a moment so we can talk about it a little bit. The thing about the thing about Pei Mei was he had a way of moving his shield around on his body too.
Right.
Just like when he went to hit him in the privates, it wasn't there because there's this thing that they can do now. They can actually make the penis, what they call it, it would insert, it would go up into the body. That's why it wasn't there when he went to reach and grab or whatever. It wasn't there, and he was like, "Can you find it?" You know, that kind of thing. And then, like you just saw, when he tried to go at his eyes, and he could close his lids, and you couldn't hurt his eyeballs or whatever. So, just a fearsome form of iron robe kung fu. And Lole, a lot of people would not know this, but he was not a martial artist at all.
Yeah, I believe it.
He was not a martial artist. He was an athlete. Both he and Jimmy Wong Yu, they were at that time when they got hired by the Shaw Brothers studio, they were like athletic guys, and the choreography for these films were centered around where they had certain strengths as an athlete. Like you could see him in there, the way he was good with his arms and his feet, his hands and stuff. So that was the accentuation of what his talents were. But it's amazing because he always fought well on film, but he was not a martial artist at all. So a wonderful, thing. Now Chen Kuai-tai, on the other hand, who's pictured here with the frame frozen, he was a real life monkey kung fu stylist. So it was very easy for him to pick up choreography. And since in this film he was playing Hung Si Quan, he was playing someone who used the hung fist, which was the technique where you see he cross his arms like that and crouch, which is not too much different from monkey kung fu, because monkey kung fu practitioners fight out of a crouch as well. So they get down low and everything. So he was able to emulate the hung fist style very easily because of his prowess in monkey kung fu. So I just thought I would share that for people who might not know those things. Me, I'm the sensei. I got to give you a little backdrop on everything.
So, that don't surprise me about him not being a martial artist, because when I first seen Five Fingers of Death, I always thought that was weird, his movements. Like, I was like, this dude can't kick for shit, man.
Yeah, the way he flung his legs around,
yeah, his kicks was always weird to me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But you know what? It's interesting because he still, looked better on film as a fighter than Jimmy Wong Yu. Jimmy Wong Yu was horrible. And they would try to teach him the techniques on the set, and he would always just deviate away from that and say, well, I feel more comfortable doing this. And he'd be doing these John Wayne punches and stuff and these little half kicks and stuff. And he was like that. And even when he made a film called Tiger and Crane Fist with the brother of the choreographer of this film, Liu Chao Yang, he made that film with Liu Chao Young, and he was supposed to be using the Tiger and Crane style in that movie. And he was doing like maybe 20% Tiger Crane Fist and the rest Jimmy Wang Yu Kung Fu. Like, he just could not conform to the choreography. but he was a big star for whatever reason, because I guess back in those days when he was in his heyday, he was like a macho man, you know, that strong, silent type or
Right.
whatever. And that went over well with their audiences. He was kind of like the John Wayne of the Kung Fu films back then. And people liked that until other more talented guys came along, like the Venoms and of course Bruce Lee and all, you know, people who could do it for real. And that's when Jimmy Wang Yu kind of fell off. But guys like Chen Kwai here, man, he was very good. I remember him in Crippled Avengers. You remember that?
Yeah,
Where he was
sure.
teaching his son who had his arms chopped off, and he taught him kung fu and he used those weapons and stuff. Yeah, man. Mortal Kombat is also known as Crippled Avengers, Mortal Kombat, or it's also known as Return of the Five Venoms. So it, awesome film. I'll let the rest of this play out and then we can move on. Let's see here.
If you can, kill him. If you can't, then run.
You got up out of there quick.
You got up out of there quick, right? Oh, snap. Damn, it's going right for him, too. Yeah, buddy. So
And what I liked about these was with it's like people always got a second and third chance to fight him. You know what I'm saying? He always let people go back and train, get better, come back, try to, every time dude came back, he was better.
yeah, and I liked like in Fist of the White Lotus when he was telling them, he was like, I got a 7-step kung fu technique,
Right.
and he hit him with that psh, 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 and
Yeah,
then
100
he's
pace
like,
palm.
run away, and they start trying to run, and then next thing you know, the damn
Yeah, I
what you
saw
call
that.
it? Yeah, they fall down and he
Mm-hmm.
count the steps, and then okay, they stopped the stream, but we can still keep going because I stopped playing it, so it'll come back up.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me write in the chat real quick, let everybody know.
Damn, YouTube full of shit, man.
I know, right? And I see other stuff that get put on all the time, man.
Mm-hmm.
I see other stuff. Another thing is, that's why I had paused it. You know what I mean? I had stopped playing it so we could
Right.
talk over it a little bit. And I'll let it go. When it come back up, I'll let it. See, yeah, we back now. We back. Because I'm watching on my tablet. I could see our stream and everything. I see what's going on. Yeah, we back.
You on mute. No, you on mute. Can y'all hear me in the chat? See how YouTube be doing, man. We over here talking about kung fu movies and they just hating, bro. Stormy be back. He trying to get everything situated. But yeah, that's what they do, though, man. YouTube just spying, hating. If we was over here talking about Meg the Stallion and Tory Lanez, wouldn't nobody be messing with us. When we talking about niggonometry.
Okay, I should be back. Everything good? Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, we're good now. Yeah, man. They do that. It's just like when I was telling you, behind the scenes, 78, when I was doing the stream earlier, I was talking about Clarissa, and here this guy pops up right away talking about allegedly, when I
Right.
was talking about Clarissa and Savannah Marshall. They be lurking. This is how you know also that they the ops, because they just wait for triggers. You know what I mean? But that's not going to stop us from talking about Pei Mei and what we're doing here this evening. That ain't going to stop us at all. We're going to continue on with this show because people enjoy it, and so do we. You understand? So, yeah. And I already took the monetization off of the show because I knew already. And look, I ain't doing this for the money. I'm doing it because this is what we love. But you're right. If we were on here talking about them tricks and everything, they'll let us say all that all night long.
Right.
Calling each other a bunch of N-words and this and that.
That's what they want.
Yeah. That they'll let that go. It'll go viral.
Sure will.
So, but no. This is listen, with what we're doing here, man, this is a progressive thing. I ain't worried about it. You know what I mean? Because when we talk about these kung fu films, it's one of the things that held us down when we were growing up. You know what I mean? Right. This is the original theatrical poster for Executioners of Shaolin. And that guy that's on the left there on the poster, that's Young Wang Yu, which is no relation to Jimmy Wang Yu. But Young Wang Yu was a Shaw Brothers young man that was coming on. He was very young at the time. I think he was like 18, 19 years old. And he played Hung Si Kwan's son in this film. And that's what he was doing. And he was the one that actually learned Hung Si Kwan's Hung Fist style. And then later he learned his mother's Wing Chun style, a soft style, hard style. And that's what it took to defeat Pei Mei in this film. She taught him to fight with a soft and combination soft style, her style, and hard style, which was which was his dad's style, and that's how he was able to defeat Priest Pei Mei in there. Also, let me get this super chat here. We just had a super chat from Main Event Mark. Appreciate your Main Event Mark. He says, YouTube, how about these? Yeah, man. Listen, hey, those monkeys don't stop this show, huh? They don't. We know what's going on. We know. So, but I appreciate your super chat all the same. Thank you, brother. So, what else about Pei Mei in this particular film did you recall, 78?
He reminded me in this one was a lot like the White Lotus movie. You know what I mean? I remember when one of Dude's brothers told him, he said, "Hey, his weak spot is at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock, but he couldn't finish before he died. He couldn't finish telling them, so he had to figure it out. And by the time he trained for some more, about 10 more years, came back to fight him. He had him too. He was working him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He got better, but he still wasn't good enough. And once Pei Mei saw him going for his weak spot, he shifted it up to his head. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Straight beast.
Yeah, and you know, like I said earlier in the show when I was talking about the fact that this character has shown up in a lot of kung fu films, definitely with Lole playing him at least 4 times in Shaw Brothers films. But there were other films, independent films, like, do you remember a film called The Snuff Bottle Connection?
I don't remember that one.
Okay, that one had John Liu and Don Wong Tao in it. You know, they always played these two heroic guys who were on different sides, because they were in like movies like Dragon on Fire, or what was that film that they did? Secret Rivals, you know, where they had to team up and they had to fight Wang Ching Li, who was like the white eyebrows prince in that film. The Secret Rivals, parts 1 and 2. Well, the Snuff Bottle Connection, there were 2 chief priest white eyebrows in that film. One was played by Philip Kofei, and the other one was played by Wang Cheng Li, and they faced off against each other in the Snuff Bottle Connection. And of course, Wang Cheng Li was the better one. You know, he whooped the other one's butt. But yeah, even Carter Wong played him in Born Invincible. You remember Born Invincible? And he had that laugh where he had that high pitched laugh.
Yeah.
He laughed like that. And the secret in that film, how they got to him, is they got him to laugh, and then they stabbed him in the mouth. Remember?
Right.
So it was like they couldn't hurt his body because he had that iron robe technique. But finally they figured out, like, oh, he might be vulnerable when he laughs. Get him to laugh. And the dude took some blows from him and stuff, and he was laughing. You can't defeat me. And then they were like imitating his voice. They was like, you can't defeat me. And he was like, why are you talking like that? And he was like, why are you talking like that? And he started laughing. And he was laughing. And then he threw the thing and stabbed him.
Yeah, I remember that shit.
Born Invincible, man, I tell you. And that film was pretty cool because they had that when it came on, he was sitting in the floor in that yin yang symbol with those candles surrounding him, and he was doing like the Tai Chi style or whatever. So yeah, Born Invincible was another one where it was kind of like, you know, priest white eyebrows. So,
right.
But yeah, these films are always great, man. And if you guys who love kung fu films like 78 and myself, if you haven't seen those movies, please check them out. You know, if you don't remember the titles, you play this back, what we're talking about, and check these films out, man, because I tell you, they're very entertaining. They're very entertaining, and they always find new ways to accentuate Priest Pei Mei's his skills and his talents. We got another super chat out here from Todd French 600 again, back in the building. He says he stayed dissing Tiger Crane, laugh out loud. He had the ultimate defense technique of floating back as a positive instinctive defense as well. Preach, panel. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
In Fist of the White Lotus, also known as Clan of the White Lotus, he was definitely doing that in that film. I'll put up the original theatrical poster for Fist of the White Lotus here. This was one of the better films that this was made in 1980 and had Lole playing Priest Pei Mei again. And then this one was what Todd French was talking about. In this film, when they attacked him, he would float back Remember that 78? They
Yeah.
was like making those moves at him, and he'd be like, like spinning around and shit, and they couldn't get him. He was so bad in that. Remember when Gordon Liu tried to come for him and he was taking a bath?
Oh yeah.
He was in the bathtub, and Gordon Liu had to beat his two swordsmen first, and he did. But then he tried to attack Pei Mei while Pei Mei was taking a bath, and dude was like butt naked in the tub, and so he tried to attack him in there, and he was like, he flew out of the tub, and he grabbed one of those robes and put it around himself, and he was fighting and trying to dress himself at the same time. Right. When they come up with that type of choreography, man, it's smooth as hell because it's very creative. You know what I mean? To be doing those techniques and stuff and still be doing something like putting his clothes on. It's like, that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed Fist of the White Lotus, man.
Yeah, that's my favorite one, Fist of the White Lotus.
And it's got to have one of the best openings, because at the beginning of the film, it shows the burning of the Shaolin Temple.
Yeah.
And Gordon Liu and the other guy, I think he was playing Hu Wei Chen. They were trying to escape the temple, and there was a white eyebrow monk after them too. But I don't think that was Pei Mei. That was the other guy, and they defeated him with their Tiger Crane style. Yeah. But, yeah, and that was at the very beginning of the movie. But then they ran into Pei Mei later in the film, and it was like they thought the same technique was going to work, but it didn't. Pei Mei was that, and that's the one where he was using the technique when he hit him with so many blows and tell him to run away, and then they fall down and stuff. Because it's like after he hit you with that technique, it's like you could only make so many steps before your heart give out.
Right.
And Gordon Liu, he did it on him, but he didn't take all the steps. The guy came and saved him and carried him home. Remember? Yeah. It was like as he had tried to walk, he was down.
Yeah, I remember that shit. He said, how'd you survive? He said, I only took 99 steps.
Yeah, man. And Pei Mei, man, he wasn't no joke. He killed women too. Remember the girls that was trying to fight?
Yeah.
He killed old girl.
He was slapping them in their back hard as motherfucker.
Huh?
He was slapping them in their back hard as shit.
Yeah, right. And he hit that girl. She was like doing those cartwheels and stuff. And he touched her stomach and turned it or something like that. And she did that somersault and she was like, oh, and she spit up blood. She was like, That's another thing I love from the Kung Fu films. When they be spitting up all that blood, they be like, blood.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to tell you the payoff of that. In the Kung Fu films, that's how you know somebody got really fucked up. Is when they spitting up blood. They bruises on their face and everything, that don't mean nothing. But when they spit up blood, oh my God, he's dying. You know?
Right, that's when you know they ain't got too much time left. They ain't got too much time left.
You know, I'm talking about the payoff. Hey, don't you remember in Trading Places when Eddie Murphy was in the jail cell? When he told them big brothers, you wouldn't know shit about that.
I bleed on the inside.
Big Barry White motherfucker. He said, I'm a karate man. I bleed on the inside.
Right.
Man, that had me rolling when Eddie Murphy was saying that. He was like, whoa, whoa. They was looking at that fool like, man, you crazy. That dude picked him up, put him on the wall. He was like, look, brother.
He said, you don't know that because you a big Barry White looking motherfucker. Yeah.
He said, look, man, in my right pocket, I got a whole thing of Tic Tacs. Take all of them that you want. He said that nigga breath stink. Oh, man. But I tell you, man, Eddie Murphy said he was a big fan of Kung Fu films. And if you ever saw Bowfinger.
Yeah, Bowfinger, yeah.
When they was walking in the parking lot, and he had them damn pumps on, them shoes, and it was like they was telling him to walk through the parking lot, and when he hit those shoes, he was like scared. He was like moving real fast, and the shoes stopped moving real fast.
Right.
But he said, when he was walking through the parking lot, he was thinking about he said this in the interview that he did like on Johnny Carson or something. He's like, I was thinking about Bruce Lee movies, like when Bruce Lee was in that room with the mirrors and he was walking in and looking around.
Right.
He said that's what I was thinking in my mind when I was shooting that scene. Eddie Murphy was funny, man, when he first came on, man. He was really But the karate movies, always an attachment. For those of us that are of a certain age, we just reach back into that genre and just find whatever we like and pull it right into today, man. And it's like, that's one of those things. But yeah, Clan of the White Lotus, Fist of the White Lotus, it got one of the best opening scenes. That opening scene where they're fighting that white eyebrow priest, it's a damn good fight scene. And the rest of the film is pretty tight as well. So, you know, that's another one of my favorites. So we got Executioners and Fist of the White Lotus. I mentioned Born Invincible. There's another one called Ninja Hunter. I don't know if you ever saw that. But Ninja Hunter is another film that features white eyebrows. And the guy that's playing Pei Mei in that film is one of the guys, you've seen him in a lot of other, like, I call them independent kung fu films, because he's one of those guys that does the somersaults. I'll tell you who it is who played him. You saw Mystery of Chess Boxing, right?
Right.
You remember the old man with the long hair, and he played chess?
Right.
And he had that girl as his daughter or his niece or whatever, the old man. And he was also in 7 Grandmasters.
Oh, yeah, 7th grade. I remember.
Now, wait a minute. I just thought of something. In 7 Grandmasters, he played Pei Mei in 7 Grandmasters. That's who he was supposed to be. That was Pei Mei before he ran across the Shaolin Temple. Let me get this. I got a Cash App here I want to acknowledge. I'm sorry, I'm really running on at the mouth, so we got a Cash App. Who we got? Is that Coach 67? I got you there with that Cash App donation. I appreciate you. Yeah. Want to make sure I receive that. It says for support and salute. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, Coach. Yeah. 7 Grandmasters, 78. The only reason that I know that that's who he was playing in that film is because when I bought the DVD, they had put out a remastered DVD of 7 Grandmasters in the early 2000s. And it was a special edition because there was this guy on this Kung Fu website. His name was Lin Haynes. And Lin Haynes was a real Kung Fu aficionado like we are. And he was getting in touch with some of these companies that made DVDs and stuff. And he told them with his background, he could help them out if they ever did special editions of movies and stuff like that, because he could add information that he had. And you know how when you open a DVD, it has those linear notes or whatever?
Right.
He included a linear note booklet about the 7 Grandmasters film. He had it was like 2 pages of information on the actors in the film, the choreographers, who the characters were that they were playing. And I read in those linear notes that the actor that was playing Pei Mei in that film, he was actually playing a version of Pei Mei, but it was before he became the white brow priest. So it was like in his younger days, and he had students and everything. So that's the whole thing about the 7 Grandmasters.
So he was the dude in the 7 Grandmasters who used to wear that Lord Raiden hat?
Huh?
Was he the one who used to wear that Lord Raiden hat? That like
no, he was the one that what's his name? Lee Yi Min was trying to get to be his Sifu. He was like, teach me. And he had the other students, and they were going across the provinces challenging different fighters.
Okay, I remember. Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, that was Pei Mei, because he did that style. Let me take this picture off the screen for a second. He did that style, and then he'll end up going to the side with his hands like this.
Yeah. I know you're talking about.
Yeah, he was playing Pei Mei. That was Pei Mei in the movie, but it was supposed to be way before his hair turned white. And he was with the Wu-Tang Clan. So the thing about his hair turning white, it was explained that when he started practicing that iron robe kung fu, and he gave up his chastity, so to speak, not having sex or anything anymore, that's what supposedly had turned his hair follicles prematurely white and all of that stuff. So that's why, because it's like that's supposed to be one of the things of their devotion to their art that it does to them. So a lot of people don't know that aspect of it, but yeah, that's another one of the things. So but yeah, and I've decided I won't show those other clips because I don't want them trying to take us down, because they're all Shaw Brothers of what I had, and Shaw Brothers, they do have snipers out here for that. So I'll just talk about them through the theatrical posters. There was another one that you and I had discussed. Did you get a chance to watch it? Because you said you was gonna look for it. Shaolin Abbott.
Man, I could not find it, man. I ended up watching Executions of Shaolin again, but I could not find Shaolin Abbott nowhere.
Okay.
Not a good copy of it, at least.
Yeah, this is the one with David Chang, and David Chang is supposed to be playing a Shaolin monk in this one, the same monk that Gordon Liu played in Master Killer. That's supposed to be Monk Sante. And Monk Sante is a real historical person too. He is a guy that supposedly went through the 36 chambers of 35 chambers of Shaolin. The 36th chamber was supposedly what he started when he left Shaolin, teaching Shaolin Kung Fu outside of the temple. That's why in the movie it's called the 36th chamber of Shaolin. It's because Sante left Shaolin to teach to the people. And that way the people didn't have to come to Shaolin. Because remember, when people sought refuge at Shaolin, that's what brought the Wu-Tang warriors and the emperor's soldiers and stuff to the temple to try to burn the temple down for rebels. That's why. So they took it to the streets, so to speak. And that's, one of the things that they did to adopt. We got the brother Drew Titan, LLC, out there in the super chat. He says, no sex through Kung Fu would end for me. Well, your Kung Fu wouldn't be good enough, Drew, so you'll be killed. Yeah, your Pei Mei would end up telling, what's that he told the guy 78 when he says,
how dare you challenge me with your so-called Kung Fu?
That's what you would hear, Drew. He'd tell you that. So you wouldn't be good enough. But yeah, man, that's and thanks for the super chat, Drew Titan, man. But yeah, that it's funny when you think about these films, because when you get to know the characters and everything, you realize what the connection of the movies are. You know what I mean? It's like, because some movies might pick a story up later in a particular guy's, life or whatever. Right. I know that Tai Lung, he played this character in the movie, The Magic Blade. And he had a blade that he could swing around like this, like a swivel. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's a Shaw Brothers flick. Right. But that character came up in a sequel, and then he ended up in another film that didn't have nothing to do with him, but his character showed up in the movie, almost like a crossover, like a Marvel thing or whatever. Right, he showed up, and he wore a poncho like Clint Eastwood, and he had this blade that clipped on the side of his waist, and he would pull that blade out and swing it around, the handle around like a swivel. Magic Blade is awesome. If you ain't seen that one, look that one up. That's a great film with Tai Lung, man. Great kung fu film. But yeah, these Shaolin Abbott, David Chang is playing Sante, and he's fighting Lo Lei in this one as Pei Mei in here. And they're fighting out in the woods or whatever, because Lo Lei is trying to bring the people in to burn down Shaolin Temple in this particular film.
So this will be the beginning?
Yeah, it's kind of like that, you know, when he led the raid on the temple, and Sante is trying to help defend the temple. So, and this was one of the first and only films that David Chang actually shaved his head to be the monk in this film. He actually is wearing a bald head. You never saw him with a bald head before. Right. And I don't think he did it again after this movie. But for this particular role, playing Monk Sante, I guess that's the honor he had for playing Sante, because remember, in their culture, these historical kung fu men, they were like legends, you know, and very well respected. So for him to shave his head to play Monk Sante, that was a big deal, you know. Sure. And Gordon Liu conveniently came along years later, and he wore a bald head anyway. So it was like he was always getting the monk roles because of that. And then there was another guy named Lee Hoi San who played a bald head monk in a lot of films, because he sported a bald head a lot. So just a little side note, you know, for people with that.
Yes, sir.
Let's see, there was something else. There was another rendition of the priest White Eyebrows in this film, Shaolin Rescuers, which I just watched this a couple of nights ago. Mm-hmm. Pei Mei shows up in the movie. It's not played by Lo Lei, though. It's played by one of those younger actors who they just put a white wig and brows on. And he's just taught. Salute to Shamar Rashan, who just became a member of my channel here. That's what that alert was. Appreciate you, Shamar Rashan. Salam. Appreciate you. Salute. Yeah, he played White Eyebrows, but he was just telling the students what to do and stuff in that film. So it wasn't like he had some fight scenes. Right, but that's what he was playing. But that film I asked you about, Ninja Hunter, this is the poster for that. Now, see the guy at the top with the white eyebrows and the hair? That's the dude that played in 7 Grandmasters that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And he's playing Pei Mei in here. Now, this one gets kind of really crazy because Alexander Lo Ray, who's the guy in the center, he was a martial arts film star that they were trying to bring along after Jackie Chan had moved away from kung fu films. Right. But he didn't turn out to be that popular. But he made a lot of films. You might remember him from a film called Shaolin versus Lama. Yeah. Yeah, he was in that. That was him. He was running around in that film asking all these teachers, Can you beat me in kung fu? If you can beat me, then you can be my teacher or whatever. In Shaolin versus Lama, that's Alexander Lo Ray. And in this film, Priest White Brows, he's taking virgins and he's drawing their blood out of their body to make his kung fu more stronger. Dude, it's a weird film here, man. This is a weird film, but it's pretty damn good because all the guys that they got fighting in it is like they got very good kung fu. They can do the flips and all of that, you know, the choreography, and it's tight. And the ninjas in here are kind of like pretty cool. Way before they did what was that ninja film by Golden Harvest? not last hurrah for chivalry, the other one, Duel to the Death. Because
Right.
those were the baddest ninjas, I thought, in Duel to the Death, which was pretty cool. But in this film, the ninjas do some crazy stuff. They disappear and stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
And Priest Whitebrows, he got his own legion of fighters. That's why it's called Wu-Tang versus Ninja, because the Chinese brothers, they knew Shaolin Kung Fu, but it wasn't good enough. So they found a Japanese teacher to help teach them ninja arts to try to combat the Wu-Tang of Whitebrows.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, that's man. These movies are something else, man. But you know, I've seen so many. It's like the stories are just right up there in my head.
The ninja movies really took off in the 80s.
They did, yeah. They did.
That's when America went through their ninja craze.
And in this movie, they got like a camp of ninjas. You know, you go to their camp and you can see them training and stuff. That's why this one is a good one to, excuse me, a good one to check out. Because, you know, they showing you everything. They showing you how they train. They showing you how they do some of their tricks and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Reading Shamar comment, he messed up. He said, "Do it to the death, niggas were the truth." He must say ninja.
Yeah, and I see some of the ladies out there, they talking about they love these movies too, so that's pretty cool. We got some of the sisters out there that love these kung fu films, man. And you know what, for a long time, 78 and chat, you know, sisters found it kind of hard to admit that they like the kung fu films. I noticed like now they're starting to be a little more open and vocal about it, but there was a time when they would be like, "Oh, you watching that stupid stuff?" You know, it's like knowing damn well they was like, "I hope he run that scene back." You know, it's like,
man, you talking about what was that Saturday night? What night was that? Saturday when the Kung Fu movies used to come on?
No, when they used to come on TV.
Yeah,
I remember they would be like Super Saturday. Sometime then they moved it to Samurai Sunday. You know, and that's what I remember, but not at nighttime. I don't remember them being on at nighttime.
Yeah, but shoot, that's my wife used to sit up with me and watch them. We never finished them because you know what happened. But you know, get comfortable, start watching some. But yeah, man, that was
you have to practice that bedside kung fu.
Exactly, exactly.
And that was another thing, because somebody mentioned it earlier in the chat. In Executioners of Shaolin, Hung Si Kwan, when he married his wife, you know, she practiced that Wing Chun, and her horse stance was really good. So she put her knees together. So he had to, you know, break that when he on their wedding night. Remember that?
Yeah, that was in the Executioners.
Yeah. She was in the bed, and he was like trying to get those legs open, and he couldn't pry them open.
Yeah, I was getting mad for him. I'm like, man, come on, man.
But that old teacher told him what to do. Remember, he was like, he whispered in his ear. He's like, "You want to defeat her style?" He's like, "I'll tell you how to do it." When the next time he went up there, he was trying again to pry the legs, because it was a few nights after they had been married already, and he couldn't get none.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he did that technique where he like poked her in the waist or something, and them legs popped over. Dude was homegrown then. Next thing you know, they had little Hung Si Kwan.
Right.
Yeah, bro. That was good, man. That was good stuff right there, man.
Yeah, man, that was good. Man. I liked Executioners. I still got to watch the Shaolin Abbott. I got to watch that one.
You'll like Shaolin Abbott because not only is it a Shaw Brothers film, it's like, you know, Shaw Brothers has certain films that were shot a certain kind of way, and they're classic in the way that they're shot. And that's one of them. It's like, you know, you're looking at a Shaw Brothers movie when you watch that, and the sets and everything. Pei Mei, David Chang, because he goes through this whole thing where he meets these other people, these villagers, and they try to help him, and do what he's doing and everything. And Pei Mei is trying to lead the raid on the temple. But Shaolin Abbott is very good. It's also known as what did I say the other name for it was? Slice of Death.
Okay.
It's also known as Slice of Death. So if you were trying to find a copy of it like on YouTube or something like that, Shaolin Abbott, also try to punch in Slice of Death and see if that one shows up. Because Slice of Death is just one of the English titles for it when it came over here. So
right. Yeah, that used to throw me off all them different names, man. But I remember in New York, my homeboys, man, they had so many. That's what we used to get them on VHS tape, right? Kung Fu movies. Some, man, we'd be so mad when they wasn't the English dub. They'd be just straight Chinese. But we got so into the movies, it didn't even matter. We still understood them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the funny thing about, like, I remember when Celestial Pictures had launched this was in the early 2000s. They had launched a memo out saying that they were remastering the Shaw Brothers library, which was going to be like almost 900 films from the Shaw Brothers library. Now, that didn't just include Kung Fu, but it included the entire Shaw library of films from like 1960, 1961, all the way through 1982 or 83, because the Shaw Brothers Studios shut down film production in the early 80s and went strictly TV, which is why Golden Harvest kind of took over, because Shaw's was always number one and
Right.
Golden Harvest became number two right up under them. But when they got out of the movie business and went strictly television broadcasting, that's when Golden Harvest was able to take over everything else. And when Celestial Pictures announced that they were going to remaster the complete Shaw's library, of course, that meant all the Kung Fu films as well. And I started purchasing them like in Chinatown here in Chicago. I would go down there and pick up 2 or 3 films that I wanted. And it became a thing because they, like, when you open the box, it will have a leaflet of like the films that were coming. And they also had the dates that they would get released. So I had a heads up of when the films were coming, and I hit up Chinatown. Man, I've got over 200 of them, you know, from that era that I was doing that. Now, I didn't buy every single Shaw Kung Fu film because there were some that the people that were starring in them, and it's like, those stupid comedies and stuff that I didn't really like. I kind of left those off. But I love the more traditional Kung Fu films, the swordsman films and stuff like that. And I made a nice collection out of what I was able to get. And I got accustomed to watching them remastered with the subtitles because they put them on the screen very well. They had a nice like color to them, and they didn't just flash on the screen and drop off. They would leave it up there, and then they would use what they call simplified translation, which means that instead of saying a very long sentence of something, it would be a simple translation of what's being stated. And that made it easier to watch the subs, and so now it's like I don't mind, even if I'm watching a different type of film that's subtitled, if a French film or a film from Ireland or whatever, it don't matter because I can read the subs and keep up now because my eye brain activity now has picked up on reading them. But yeah, it was really strange many years ago trying to read the subs and everything. That was tough. Very tough. Salute to the Jab Jamboree out there, Ack Reacher. That's my man. He loves when we talking Kung Fu, so he's out there checking us out this evening.
Yes, sir. What's up, bro?
So yeah, but yeah. Any other thoughts on this particular character, 78 or whatever, or the films that you enjoyed him in?
Well, no, I would just say, man, that this to me was the baddest man in Kung Fu movies, man. To me, man, is my favorite by far. It was other people that I liked, but Priest White Lotus or Pei Mei was just his style was so smooth, man. You know what I mean? He just and he clowned everybody he fought him. He was so confident, like, you know what I mean? He told dude, he said, what he told him? He said, your kung fu is not good enough to defeat to avenge your master.
Right.
Like he just scold people, man. And then on top of that, they go home and train for him for 10 years. And then their wife would tell him, you're not good enough. Like, dang. Like, man, this dude, they made him out to be the perfect invincible villain, man. You know,
and then they have to sit up and bear the fact that some of their brothers got killed by him too. You know, everybody was trying to get the sucker, man, and was getting killed by him. Because when Gordon Liu in Fist of the White Lotus, you know, he was there with Hung Si Kwan's wife, you know, trying to you know learn her style. Because it's basically a remake of Shaolin, of Executioners of Shaolin. But she was telling him, you got to learn this soft style. Remember, she was doing the sewing and he had these like paper dolls and stuff and he was trying to do it. He couldn't get it. And she was like, you'll never get it. You're too rigid or whatever. And when he finally went to take on Pei Mei at the end, and he had all those needles tucked away in his belt and stuff, and he was fighting Pei Mei, and he was sticking them with them needles, trying to find a pressure point or a weak spot. And Pei Mei was telling him, he was laughing. He was like, ha, 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 that's not it. You know, he was like, well, Pei Mei was a badass, man.
Hey, how many 36 Chambers of Shaolin movies came out?
3
of them.
Yeah, you had the 36 Chambers, then you had Return to the 36 Chambers, and then you had the third film was I'm trying to remember. I can't. The title escapes me right now, but it was all 3 of them was Gordon Liu,
right?
And the third one was more of him teaching, Sante teaching the students. Mm-hmm. And then he had a young student in what's the kid? Damn, the one that Fuxing would play all the time.
I can't remember his name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That was like his lead student who was real bad and he never was listening to the teacher and stuff. So yeah, but you know, it was 3 of them. It's a trilogy. You actually can. There you go. Thesh 9 says Disciples of the 36 Chamber. That's it. The third film, and they were sold as a trilogy in a box set. You could buy them, the Shaolin Chamber collection or whatever.
Okay.
See, I like physical media. I know like you can download a lot of stuff or watch it and stream it and stuff like that, but I like physical media. I like going into my room, looking on my shelf, going through them like a library of books. I like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I do the same thing with music, man. People be laughing at me because I still got CDs. Yeah,
and CDs are so cheap now. I still get them.
Right.
There are CDs that I've been picking up recently, 78 in chat, that like when CDs were the thing, them damn things was like $34, $40 or something like that. Now I could get them for like $6, $8. So guess what I've been doing? I've been picking them up. Dude, I just picked up a Tavares CD. I love the Tavares, man. That damn CD was like $30 when it was out. And it was, you know, I found it on Amazon, $7.99. I was like, let me get this Tavares CD. I listened to that sucker till I learned all the songs by word. You know, took me a couple of days. I was like, I played the hell out of that CD driving in my car, man.
Yeah, I remember when they switched from VHS, not VHS, but cassette tapes to CDs. Man, I went bananas with CDs. I was buying so many CDs, and I bought so much stuff. My pops was happy because I like the same music, you know, that I grew up on. So I would get like the best of the Barcades, the best of Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, the best of when they came out with all the Motown best of albums. I snatched up all of that stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. It's like, man, I found some Gil Scott-Heron CDs. I got like a what they call a Gil Scott-Heron. It's like a dual CD set, special edition or whatever.
Right.
I found that. I only paid $12 for that, and that was one of those that back in the day it would have been like $35, $40.
Right.
You know, so I had to pick it up. I just, you know, hey, they can do all this download and all that. That's fine. I'm old school. I have my physical media. I was sitting in my room the other day. I was just looking at you know what, you know you got a hell of a collection when you could sit there and you can't figure out what you want to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or when you talk about music, it's like you sit there and you don't know what you want to listen to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I got a nice selection of music as well. And I'm like, man, I was telling somebody recently about that Tyrone Davis and Johnny Taylor. Man, I was having a battle of Davis versus Taylor in my house. I'm listening to both of them. And that Johnny Taylor, man.
Johnny Taylor, the truth, man.
Right? And you know what I love? You see, you heard of Herb Kent, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know, Herb Kent used to play the Dusties. He had his own like radio show on the weekend. Some places it might have been Saturday night, some places it might have been Friday night or Sunday night. But I used to love listening to Herb Kent, the cool gent, man. And he used to play Johnny Taylor, but he used to always play this one particular Johnny Taylor song. At least once a month he would play it. And I said, man, I got to find that single or something. I couldn't find it. And finally I bought this Best of Johnny Taylor CD and it was on there. You know what song I'm talking about? I'm talking about when he sing, "What About My Love?"
Oh yeah.
Man, that song.
That's my cousin joint right there.
Dude, I love that song because it's like, it's got this orchestra behind him. He's singing, but he got a whole damn orchestra playing behind him on that song. And that's how those guys used to be. They used to have a full band and everything. They be singing, you know.
Right.
People always remember stuff like Disco Lady and all that. But no, man, that now that you got my love, you want to put me down. Man, that's a jam, boy. I was listening to that. That's my man there, bro.
Yes, sir.
I just love music, though. I tell you, man. That's why I do that Beats with Sugar too, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I ain't even got to that kind of stuff yet. I've been trying to hold back on it, man. You know, it's like you kind of want to go out and go full in, but then you be like, okay, see, if I do this other stuff first, you know, some of the stuff people be like, but then when you start playing certain things, they be like, oh snap, Stormy up on that too. Yeah, he up on it. I just have to divvy it out a little bit, you know.
Right.
Be like Dave Chappelle, gotcha, bitch. You know, they pull you in.
Hey, what movie was Master Killer? Wasn't that
36 Chambers?
Okay.
36 Chambers, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the other names for it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Master Killer. I remember the TV commercial for it. He was the best. He killed the rest. You know, it's like, man, all that stuff is like infused in my mind, man, from when I was a kid. I used to watch that stuff. You know, you could be doing something and see a Kung Fu movie commercial come on TV and you just stop and you be watching. I remember when Adolf Caesar, who played in what was that, Soldier Story?
Yeah.
He was the one that played the old.
One of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah. Did you know that he was the one that did most of the advertisements for movies, voiceovers in the theaters? That was him.
Yeah, because he had that voice, and he used to he actually was a part of this like little weird documentary about the death of Bruce Lee back in the day too.
Right, right, right. I remember that Fist of Fear, Touch of Death, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
that one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Adolf Caesar, he used to do the voiceover for almost every movie in cinemas that he would do the voiceover, and that was him. And I remember when I saw Soldier's Story, I was like, because he was talking in the movie, I'm like, he sounded like the guy that did the voiceover. Then I later found out that was him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not just kung fu movies. He did the voiceover for all films. It was like that was just a job of his he did back in the day. And I just wonder, like, how did he get that kind of job? Because I know he had that strong voice, but I'm just saying there were so many movies. But if you listen to movie trailers from at least up into the 80s, because I think he died shortly after A Soldier's Story came out. He didn't live much longer after that. And I think that was what, 82, 83, Soldier's Story came. But if you watch most of the,
like the mid, I think he died in like the late 80s, didn't he?
Yeah, but I'm saying that if you watch most of the film trailers from the 70s on through to almost the 80s, most of those trailers was his voice.
Right, right.
Don't go to what was that? The dude that was killing people with the chainsaw.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yeah, he did the voiceover for that trailer. Bring your mama to the theater, It's like he used to be. Adolf Caesar was doing all them damn trailers, man. I remember the trailers for the Bruce Lee films, Fist of Fury and Chinese Connection. He was like, unstoppable, unbeatable. It's Bruce Lee, He was like, he was
do a lot of them blaxploitation movies too.
Yeah, Blackula and stuff. Yeah, all of that stuff, man. I remember when you and Supreme Beast was doing the horror movies, and y'all was talking about them black horror movies. Do you guys remember that okay, there was a movie called Rosemary's Baby, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there was a black version of that. Do you remember the black version of Rosemary's Baby?
A black version of Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah, I think it was called It's Alive. And it the Davis baby. The thing had fingers that looked like claws like this. Yeah, man.
It's Alive. I didn't know that was black people.
Yeah.
I remember It's Alive. I remember being black people though.
Dude, that was crazy. But
yeah, I remember It's Alive. Yeah, I mean it was a couple of them. It was a couple of It's Alives. I remember.
Yeah. But man, all those movies. And I'll tell you, I recently, and when I say recently, it's got to be sometime last year, maybe summer or fall of last year. I went online. The Blackula films, Blackula and Scream, Blackula Scream, got remastered and put on Blu-ray, and I picked those up off of Amazon, man. I sat up and watched those one night, 70. I had the time of my life sitting there watching that, man. That shit was good, man. It's like it took me back to when I was a little boy, seeing that shit in the theater, man.
Right.
It was great, man. It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when when going to the movies was so cool. You could just go and escape reality for a couple of hours and go back to whatever life was.
The key is to find like those budget theaters that play old movies all day, man. If you got any one of them in your state, you gotta find one, man. Because they got a couple of them out here, but they play older movies, like not too old though. Sometimes they'll have nights where they show real old movies, but yeah, you go up in there for like $2-3, man.
Right, it's like a grindhouse experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, them was the joints.
It's interesting that we're talking about Fist of the White Lotus tonight because I want to say about 6 years ago, there's a theater here. It's called the Portage Theater. It's Portage Park, Illinois here. That's just West Chicago, basically. But I want to say it's on Cicero, North Cicero here in Chicago. But they open it up a couple of times a year to show old movies like what you're talking about. And about 6 years ago, they had a Shaw Brothers festival. They showed Fist of the White Lotus and another film. I can't remember what the second film was, but Fist of the White Lotus is what everybody came there to see. And there's this guy that was from Milwaukee, and his name is Brian. And I was friends with him on Facebook, and we were both a part of a Kung Fu movie group on Facebook. And he had said, hey, I'm coming to see this Fist of the White Lotus playing at that theater, 35 millimeter print. And I was like, cool. I was like, I'm going to see it too. So we actually met person to person, and we became friends and everything. And he's from Milwaukee. He drove all the way from there to see the films that night that they had. They had it playing for 2 nights in a row. And the guy who had the reels, he was there. He talked about it. He said that there were some old theaters that were closing, and they had gone in, and in the basement in a cellar were like old film reels and a couple of Shaw Brothers films and a couple of other films. They took them out. They cleaned them up. They didn't remaster them, but they cleaned them, and they still worked. So they toured the country showing those films. I think they said that they were going to Texas. There's a Grindhouse Theater in Texas. There's one in New York. And these guys, they have real authentic 35 millimeter prints of a couple of Shaw Brothers films. And the guy told a story about they went in one particular old theater and they found like a few films that just got left just like that. Can you believe that, man? Amazing. When they closed the theater, they just left the damn movies in the thing.
Right.
I was like, damn. You know, that's a treasure, bro.
Right.
And they have the original trailers attached to them and stuff.
Right.
You know, film reel. The films look a little washed out. The color faded, you know, but it was in good shape. It wasn't like choppy or nothing. We sat there and enjoyed the hell out of the movies, man. It was just like it was 1978 again, you know?
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, I'd like to go to something like that, man. They had like a
the next time they have one, if I hear of it and it's somewhere between here and where you are, I'll let you know. Because it's like those are always cool to support, man. That brings out the nerd of us all, you know, when we go and we show that we you know, Drew Titan and I talk about that a lot on our Nerds on Culture show on Mondays, man. It's like that's the kind of stuff that just kept us going. You know what I mean? Doing stuff like this, watching the Kung Fu films or whatever, you know, going to the movies and stuff like that. These young people today, they don't understand that kind of stuff, man. They more into these devices and stuff. You know, if you go out in the public and you can see a bunch of kids together, but ain't nobody paying attention to each other because they on the damn phone or something. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's so irritating, man. It just people don't pay attention no more. You know,
no.
Everybody's doing something else. Like people can't even have a conversation without looking at the Instagram. You talk to somebody and they got their phone in their hand, they checking messages, they like whatever, you know. It is what it is.
If you go out to dinner, you can see a group of people sitting at a table having dinner together, but ain't nobody paying attention to each other. They all got their devices out.
So anybody even talking.
Or taking pictures of the food. What the fuck is that, man? Taking pictures of the food. That shit. Oh, I had to get on my wife about that, man. I'm like, taking a picture of the food. It's like, eat. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, man. I'm just from a different era, man.
I feel you. I just got into taking pictures of the food shit. I got into that shit because people seem to like it, but other than that,
it's like, you know, you got pushed into it. You realize that, don't you?
Yeah. My wife pushed me into it because she used to always be like, "Oh, send this to the kids." Like me and my wife, we go have a date night or something, right?
Right.
Which is tomorrow, actually. We got date night. So me and her have like a date night, and then my daughter, she'll text, "What y'all eating? You know, bring me something back and all that." So then we'll tease her. You know, we'll take a picture, snap a picture, send it to her and stuff. So then I start posting them on Instagram. People like it. So I said, okay.
Yeah, well, you know what? I know that when you posted some of them pictures of like a slab of ribs or something like that, I look at that, I'll be like, damn, that shit look good.
Oh yeah, man. I'm trying to tell you, man. One thing I love is some food, man. Some food, some good music, something to drink, and a good movie is over with.
That's it, man. That's the life right there.
Yeah,
that's the life. They closed a little over a year ago. They closed the last drive-in theater that I knew of. There was one in the western suburbs. It's west of me, maybe about 5 miles from my home. And I found it by accident by driving past that way. Right. And I was like, damn, you know, it's a drive-in theater. And I was able to go there once. But a little over a year ago, they finally closed it. And I'm like, man, and it was the old drive-in that like had 2 screens, you know, like on this side, one, you know, a movie's playing, on the other side, a movie is playing. And all you had to do now, because remember, they used to have those little speakers that you put on your window and stuff when you're sitting in the drive-in, the old, big old metal speakers.
Right.
All you had to do was dial your radio to a certain radio station while you're in that area, and it would pick up the audio from the film. So that was pretty cool. And inside the concession area was like out of the 50s. They kept it like it was. It was like the popcorn machine, the candy counter, the soda fountain, all of that stuff, man, was like you had went back in time.
Right.
And it was clean. It was very nice. It looked like it originally looked. I was like, man, this is so nice. And when I heard that last year that they closed it, I'm like, it kind of hit me in the heart, man, because I'm like, those are the kind of things that nostalgia, you know, it's just take you back.
Absolutely.
The drive-in was always a great time, man, going to the drive-in.
Yeah, they still got a few in Wisconsin. They got one in Wisconsin Dells, I know that, in Jefferson, but I wouldn't mess around in Jefferson. No, they crazy races out there.
Yeah.
Wisconsin Dells be fun. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want to gamble and go to Jefferson, you know what I mean? Well,
nah.
Yeah, they kicked us up out of there. You ever seen Porky's?
Yeah.
You remember when the sheriff busted out dude them lights and told him, he said, this here's a Manson County. You don't get the fuck out. Yeah, that's what they did to us in Jefferson, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, dude told us get the fuck up out of there. Yeah. And we want to do another fishing.
Well, I'll tell you, man, it's like there's a lot of places in this nation where I don't even know why young people of today, they don't have no concept of what really happens here. It's like they living in a different reality or something. But, you know, I can, and I'm sure you understand what I mean when I say this. I could walk into somewhere and feel the vibe and be absolutely. Like, dude, this ain't for me. Yep. And I don't have to be told, get out, or what do you want, or whatever. Or I don't even have to wait till the needle on the record go when you walk in the door. You understand? It's like I can just about face and be up out of there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, some people be, do you guys have a toilet? That'll be the last shit you have. You understand? And like, you didn't even go in there to shit. You understand? It's like,
ain't no damn way. Nah. See, I don't force myself on nobody. If I go somewhere and I get that vibe, I'm not wanted here, I'm turning right back around, getting up out of that joint.
Reminds me of Ali when he was talking about after coming home from the Olympics with the gold medal and everything. He went into a diner to sit down and have a cup of coffee and a hamburger. And He sat down. Everybody was looking at him and everything.
Mhm.
And his friends had told him, "Don't go in there, Ali. Don't go in there." He was like, "Man, I'm going to get me something to eat." He went in and sat down. And the waitress came over and said, "We don't serve niggas here." He said, "And I don't eat them either." He's like, "I just want a burger."
Right.
But he ended up and he left up out of there. But he threw the gold medal in the Kentucky River after that. That's somewhere down in that river, down under all the waste and garbage and erosion and corrosion down there is his gold medal. He dropped it into the river, threw it in there. After that, he said his gold medal don't mean nothing.
You know what that'd be worth if somebody found that?
I know, right?
And I tell you, somebody gonna find it one day fishing for catfish. They're gonna pull that
Probably.
out, and it's gonna be some old white man.
Probably, bro. Probably. So, but I'll tell you, man, it's like some people just not smart enough to figure this stuff out, bro. They not. We got Young World out there in that super chat. He says, "Salute Big Storm in 78, just getting here. How long y'all been on? I'll catch the replay. Salute to the chat." We've been on about an hour and a half there, Young World, and we're about to wrap it up. I know 78 is busy, brother, and just glad to have had him on here with me tonight to talk about Priest White Brows. Yeah. So.
Yes, sir. I think I'm gonna watch me a kung fu movie tonight. I'm gonna watch probably about 2 more episodes of New York Undercover. And then I'm gonna watch me a good kung fu movie before I go
Man,
tonight.
when that show premiered, it was a damn good show, man.
Yeah, it was.
And they kept moving it around and everything purposely. Yeah, purposely, so it would lose ratings and everything. But you had a young black man, you had a young Hispanic couple on there and everything, and it was like urban. You know what I'm saying? A good representation. I like that more than I like that other show that was on at the same time. And I think that's why they did those things to it, just to get it off the air, man.
Mm-hmm.
They did that to so many of our shows. Like, why would you take Martin and put it up against Living Single? It don't make sense.
Yep.
It's like they did that to destroy. And do you realize, 78 in chat, that it's like there are no positive shows like that with black folks no more? None.
Yeah, everything is reality TV.
Yeah, you had A Different World, you had Martin, you had Living Single, you had The Cosby Show, which kicked all of that off, and a couple of other shows, The Wayans and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, in Living Color and stuff like that. All of that talent and everything, it got moved off, and then they put bull crap on the TV, and it's been horrible ever since.
Absolutely.
Horrible. And at least you saw A Different World, people going to college. Though the colleges on the show were fake, it gave people inspiration to do something with their lives. I want to go to college. I want to have fun like that. I want to be, it's like, but you cannot be what you cannot see. And guess what they showing you? A lot of bullshit. So if you seeing bullshit, what you gonna be producing?
You want to do the bullshit. Man, I remember back when it was cool to wear historically black college sweaters and hoodies, Morehouse and stuff like that. Like, we weren't even in college, but that was the thing to do. We wanted to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made such a difference, man. It made such a difference. Remember when Spike Lee made the movie School Days,
right,
and everything? All of that tapped into the same energy, bro. It tapped into the same energy, which was something very positive and progressive. We don't have that now. For all this talent that he has and the things that he created, Tyler Perry with them damn social dramas and all of that foolishness, why he ain't producing stuff like that?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You know what I mean? All this, I can do bad all by myself and all that foolishness. It's like, man, what about bringing people together and putting something on somebody's mind to be progressive and this and that? It's like all of that. I don't know, man. I don't mean to sound preachy, but it's like,
I feel you.
I could see what's wrong. I could see it. Especially when you live long enough to know the difference. See, you of an age and I'm of an age where we know. But there are younger people that don't have a clue of how different it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was all over once Flavor of Love came on TV.
Oh man.
Once that shit got hot, that's when you knew everything. When they started making people famous with no talent, you know what I mean? Reality TV shows just messed everything up. Then when social media really took off, people just come online, say anything, just try to get some attention for themselves to go viral, saying something crazy, get some attention, get some views, some likes, and
it's hard to believe that Flavor Flav was a part of Public Enemy, man.
Yeah, he didn't.
It's just Professor Griff and Chuck D and all the brothers, the S1Ws, all it's like, what happened?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, man, it's like they took like life force out of our community, bro. It's like they reached in there to the heart and ripped it out, like in a kung fu film.
Right. Yep.
Man. But they got us now.
Definitely.
we holding on. We holding on to the chain, bro. We ain't gonna let it go. You know what I mean? Just hopefully some younger folks can pick up the baton and carry it as well. Because, I do my part. I swear I try to do my part. I can't do it all, but I do my part. So
most definitely.
But yeah, man. Any final thoughts and words? 78, man. And hey, thank you so much, brother, for being on here with me this evening.
Bro, I appreciate this, man, having me on, because I was just talking to one of my boys yesterday about this, man. He's another brother, and he had just brought it up. Me and him were ready to do my dog show, and he said, man, what you know about Fist of the White Lotus? I said, what are you talking about, man? I said, man, I'm going to do a show about that tomorrow. Well, actually, I said Friday because I thought it was on Friday. And he was like, you bullshit. I said, nah, man. I said, me and my boy were just talking about that Pei Mei the Priest stuff. And so me and him he had just got done watching. He was real hyped up behind that, man. He said that's his favorite joint,
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to do another Kung Fu joint pretty soon. But what I like to do is just feed the people to the greatness that were Kung Fu films. Drew Titan and I like to talk about this Ron Van Cleef, the Black Dragon, the end fight scene where he's fighting that guy and he turns his head all the way around on his body.
Right.
Man, that shit is hilarious. You ever see that?
Yeah.
Dude, that's like the funniest thing. And I've asked Drew to send me that clip because he's got the clip. And I was like, send that to me, man, so I could just use it as a meme sometime just to make people laugh. That shit is hilarious, man. He turned that dude's head around 360.
You remember when he got into he tried MMA?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, man, don't do it, man. And he got up in there, man. But luckily for him, he was fighting. I think he was fighting Hoist Gracie. And Hoist didn't want to hurt him, so he just submitted him.
But and he was too old anyway.
Yeah, he was way too old for
that stuff, man. But did you know this as a sidebar story? Ron Van Cleef was at some tournament and Bruce Lee was there and they were introduced. This was like in the late 60s, before Bruce Lee went back to Hong Kong and started making Kung Fu films. It was probably around the time he had already played Kato on the Green Hornet. But he ran across him because he was amongst the guys like Chuck Norris and Mike Stone, Ed Parker, all those guys. They all knew each other. Joe Louis. And Bruce came across Ron Van Cleef and he told him, he said, I heard about you. You are the Black Dragon.
Right. So
that's where he got the nickname from. Bruce Lee called him the Black Dragon.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So, but Ron Van Cleef, man, I always thought like him and Jim Kelly never did a movie together, but they should have. I know they were kind of different type of dudes,
Right.
but Ron Van Cleef was the truth, man. He was a real martial artist. He could hold his own. When they did that thing in Hong Kong with him playing in several films, they were intimidated by him because he was really good. You know, it was like, and did you know his story, 78?
No, not too much. I knew he was a martial artist for a long time.
He's got a book out. You need to look him up. Do you know that Ron Van Cleef had gone into the military and he had some issues in there, of course, of the bigotry and things like that. And they left him for dead. They were trying to kill him. He was hung.
Wow.
And he survived. He survived a lynching, 78. He has a hell of a story, man. A hell of a story.
That's crazy.
There's a DVD out too called Fighting. It was like Fighting Black Heroes or something like that. It's about black martial artists. And there's a little feature on him in there, but some of the other black martial artists who never went cinematic, but could have, and they were very good. Very matter of fact, when I got it in my collection, when we leave air, I will go and get the actual title and I'll take a picture of the cover. You need to get this DVD. It's very good. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
But it's like a great documentary that talks about the black martial artists from the late 60s and early 70s, guys who were badass. And if you were in the martial art community, you knew these guys.
Did they talk about Moses Powell?
He may be one of the guys on it because I don't know all the guys' names because I've only watched the documentary a couple times, but I got it in my collection. But they got, I think they cover about, I don't know how many guys they cover. It's at least 10 guys, maybe more. But yeah, these were guys who in the 70s, man. I mean, all of them are old guys now, but they were prominent. You know, but Ron Van Cleef has an awesome story, and that's not the only thing that happened to him. But he was really maimed. They left him for dead, and he survived.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, that this is what it is. I want to say thanks to everybody that came out and checked us out this evening. We had a great talk. I pulled back on showing some of the clips because of what they did to us early, but I had a couple more things to show you guys, but it still ended up being a great discussion on Pei Mei, the white eyebrow priest. And I appreciate everybody that came in, hit the like button, the super chats, the cash apps. Appreciate everybody, man. And also salute to the general for being here and being a part of this. You're always welcome to come and talk Kung Fu.
Yes, sir.
This is the thing here. So, but yeah, man, we're going to get on up out of here. Peace to everybody out there. And shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we up out of here.
Deuces.
Yeah.